How much have you spent avoiding pain, fear, or failure? What if those experiences were the keys to unlocking your most significant potential? In Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins shows us how to transform discomfort into unstoppable strength, proving that the human spirit can overcome anything with the right mindset. David Goggins, a retired Navy SEAL, ultra-endurance athlete, and world record holder, has overcome incredible odds. From an abusive childhood and obesity to becoming one of the world's most challenging individuals, Goggins shares his remarkable journey of grit and resilience. Can't Hurt Me is his story, and a manual to unlock your potential by mastering your mind. Chapter 1. I Should Have Been a Statistic. David Goggins begins his journey in an immense setting of hardship and trauma. Growing up in a small town in Indiana, his childhood was defined by the violence and control of his father, Toughness Goggins. Toughness owned a skating rink, but behind the scenes, he ruled the family with an iron fist. David, his mother, and his brother were subjected to relentless abuse, both physical and emotional. His father's grip was suffocating, leaving scars that would shape much of David's early life. The young boy's environment was one where survival, not growth, was the priority. In this chapter, Goggins recalls vividly waking up early to work at his father's rink, often late into the night. The exhaustion was constant, and the fear of punishment loomed over every moment. For David, his childhood home was a battlefield, and each day was a test of endurance. Eventually, his mother gathered the courage to escape with her children, leaving behind the chaos of Toughness's control. But the escape was not the end of their struggles. It was the beginning of a new set of challenges. Moving to Brazil, Indiana with his mother, Goggins faced relentless racism in the predominantly white community. At school, he was one of the few black students, and the bullying was cruel and unrelenting. Racist slurs, threats, and humiliation became a daily occurrence. The compounded weight of his father's abuse and the systemic racism in his new environment left David feeling broken and powerless. His self-esteem was shattered, and he began to internalize the belief that he was destined for failure. Academically, David struggled to keep up. Reading was challenging, and he often relied on cheating to pass tests. His home life offered little reprieve. Poverty meant he and his mother lived paycheck to paycheck, sometimes not knowing where their next meal would come from. Financial stress, academic failure, and social isolation created a storm of hopelessness. By his admission, David began to adopt a victim mentality, believing that his circumstances were beyond his control and that he was powerless to change them. The turning point in this chapter comes when David begins to confront the truth about his life. He describes an unforgettable moment of looking in the mirror and acknowledging the raw, unfiltered reality of who he was and what his life had become. This act of self-accountability was painful but necessary. He recognized that while he couldn't control his past, he could take ownership of his future. This realization planted the seed for the resilience and determination to define his journey. David's transformation didn't happen overnight. The scars of his childhood ran deep, and he carried the weight of those experiences into adulthood. He details how he began to channel his pain into motivation, using his anger and frustration as fuel. His life at this stage was far from ideal. He worked as a pest control technician, battling insecurities and health issues, including obesity. Yet, amid this despair, David dreamed of a different life. The chapter closes with the idea that change is possible, no matter how dire the circumstances. Goggins introduces the concept of callusing the mind, a recurring theme throughout the book. Just as hands develop calluses through repeated use, the mind can be strengthened through adversity and perseverance. For David, this meant embracing discomfort and using it as a tool to build resilience. This chapter is a foundation for the rest of the book, illustrating how the human spirit can rise above even the most challenging beginnings. David Goggins' journey from a traumatized child to one of the world's most mentally tough individuals begins here, with the recognition that he could rewrite his own story. Chapter 2. Truth Hurts. In this chapter, David Goggins reveals a life-altering realization: the necessity of facing the unfiltered, often brutal truth about oneself. It is not an easy process, but Goggins argues that genuine transformation begins only when we confront reality honestly and take accountability for our actions, or lack thereof. This chapter delves deeply into how Goggins overcame the excuses and self-deceptions that kept him stagnant, and how others can do the same by embracing accountability and, yes, radical honesty. Goggins starts by describing a common trap that many people, including himself, fall into, blaming external circumstances for their lack of progress. For Goggins, this included his abusive upbringing, the racism he endured in school, and the lack of resources in his environment. These hardships were undeniably real, leaving scars that shaped much of his early life. But at some point, Goggins realized that continuing to lean on these experiences as excuses prevented him from moving forward. Instead of empowering himself, he surrendered to a victim mentality that trapped him in mediocrity. This epiphany marked a turning point in Goggins' life. He recognized that while he could not control what had happened to him, he had complete control over how he responded to it. This mindset shift was not easy or comfortable, but it was necessary. Goggins emphasizes that most people shy away from the truth because it's painful. It forces them to confront their flaws, weaknesses, and shortcomings, which is far from pleasant. But without this confrontation, growth is impossible. To help himself face the truth, Goggins developed what he calls the accountability mirror. This tool became a nightly ritual, where he would stand in front of the mirror and have an honest conversation with himself. He would write down his flaws, failures, and goals on sticky notes and place them around the mirror. These notes were blunt and to the point, messages like, "You're fat," or "Stop being lazy." Goggins didn't sugarcoat anything because he knew that sugarcoating the truth would only allow him to stay complacent. Instead, these notes served as daily reminders of what needed to change and what actions he had to take to make that change happen. The accountability mirror wasn't about self-loathing, it was about self-awareness. Goggins highlights the distinction between being honest with yourself and being overly critical. Brutal honesty is not about tearing yourself down, but acknowledging where you are so you can improve. Goggins compares this process to ripping off a Band-Aid. It's painful at first, but it allows for healing to begin. By staring his weaknesses in the face, he could confront them head-on and develop the discipline needed to overcome them. One of the most transformative moments in this chapter comes when Goggins describes his decision to join the Navy SEALs. At nearly 300 pounds, with no athletic background and a job as a pest control technician, the idea seemed laughable. But instead of giving in to doubt or making excuses, Goggins took ownership of his situation. He knew he had to lose over 100 pounds in just a few months to qualify for SEAL training. Most people would have found this goal impossible, but Goggins didn't allow himself the luxury of doubt. He committed to the grueling process of dieting and exercising every single day, tracking his progress relentlessly. Goggins also recounts his struggles with the ASVAB test, a critical requirement for joining the military. As someone who had always struggled with reading and academic performance, passing this test seemed insurmountable. Instead of giving up, Goggins approached the problem with the mindset he had applied to his physical training. He spent hours studying, reading textbooks aloud, and practicing until he finally passed. This experience reinforced his belief that accountability and persistence could overcome even the most daunting obstacles. A critical element of Goggins' transformation was his ability to change his self-talk. He explains that most people allow negative thoughts to dominate their minds, creating a narrative of failure and inadequacy. Goggins, however, made a conscious effort to control his internal dialogue. He would stand before the accountability mirror and tell himself, "You've got this," or "No one will outwork you." Over time, these affirmations became a part of his mindset, helping him push through challenges and build confidence. Discipline also played a pivotal role in Goggins' journey. He emphasizes that change doesn't happen overnight, but through consistent, daily effort. Goggins started small, setting achievable goals that allowed him to build momentum. He woke up earlier, exercised harder, and tracked his progress meticulously. Each small victory, whether running an extra mile or studying for an additional hour, added to his sense of self-respect and belief in his ability to change. These habits laid the foundation for his more significant transformation. In this chapter, Goggins also challenges readers to raise their standards. He explains that most people settle for mediocrity because it's easier than striving for excellence. But for Goggins, settling was never an option. Whether it was losing weight, passing the ASVAB, or completing SEAL training, he approached every goal with the mindset that good enough was not good enough. He pushed himself to go further, to work harder, and to achieve more than anyone thought possible. One of the most profound lessons in this chapter is that excuses, no matter how valid they seem, are ultimately a form of self-sabotage. Goggins acknowledges that his past was filled with legitimate hardships, but he refused to let those hardships define him. Instead, he used them as fuel to propel himself forward. He encourages readers to do the same, to stop blaming external factors and start taking full responsibility for their lives. By the end of the chapter, Goggins has laid a robust foundation for the rest of the book. He shows that accountability is not just a tool for personal growth, it's a way of life. By facing the truth and committing to change, he transformed himself from an overweight, underperforming pest control technician into one of the world's most challenging individuals. Goggins' story proves that no matter how far you've fallen, it's never too late to rise. With a newfound sense of accountability and discipline, Goggins was ready to tackle one of the most grueling challenges of his life. In the next chapter, he shares how he began to test his physical and mental limits, redefining what it means to overcome the impossible. The journey toward mastery had only just begun. Chapter 3. The Impossible Task. David Goggins' transformation from an overweight, unhappy pest control worker to a Navy SEAL is one of the most inspiring parts of his journey. In this chapter, he recounts the monumental challenges he faced during this transformation and the lessons he learned. It's a testament to the power of grit, discipline, and an unrelenting refusal to quit, even when the odds seem insurmountable. The turning point Goggins describes hitting rock bottom as forcing him to reevaluate his life. Weighing nearly 300 pounds, he was stuck in a cycle of unhealthy habits, both physically and mentally. Each day began with dread and ended with regret. One night, while working as a pest control technician, he returned home exhausted and turned on the TV. A documentary about Navy SEAL training was playing. Something inside him shifted as he watched these men endure grueling physical challenges. He realized that his current life wasn't what he wanted, and if he didn't make drastic changes, he would stay stuck forever. The idea of becoming a Navy SEAL seemed impossible at first. Goggins was not only overweight, but also unfit and utterly unprepared for the physical and mental demands of SEAL training. To qualify, he needed to lose over 100 pounds in 3 months, a task that most people consider unattainable. But instead of letting the enormity of the challenge paralyze him, Goggins approached it step by step. The physical transformation. The first hurdle was physical. Goggins began his weight loss journey with a brutal honesty about his condition. He didn't make excuses for his size or blame external factors. He acknowledged that his eating habits, lack of exercise, and poor discipline had brought him to this point. Armed with this self-awareness, he devised a plan that was as simple as it was grueling. He started by overhauling his diet, cutting out junk food and sugar, and replacing them with lean proteins, vegetables, and complex carbohydrates. Portion control became a strict rule, and he tracked every calorie he consumed. His exercise routine was equally demanding. Goggins began with running, even though his weight made it incredibly painful. He ran until his lungs burned, and his legs felt like lead, pushing himself to run further. When he couldn't run, he cycled. When he couldn't cycle, he swam. He moved his limits daily, often working out multiple times daily to accelerate his progress. The weight began to come off, but it wasn't just about the numbers on the scale. Goggins noticed that as his body became more assertive, so did his mind. Each workout was a battle against his doubts and fears, and every victory, no matter how small, built his confidence. Mental grit, the key to success. The physical demands of his transformation were immense, but Goggins emphasizes that mental grit was even more critical. There were days when he wanted to quit, when his body screamed for rest, and his mind begged for comfort. But Goggins refused to give in. He developed what he called a mental callus, a layer of toughness that allowed him to endure pain and discomfort without breaking. One way he built this mental callus was by deliberately seeking out discomfort. Goggins would wake up at dawn to run in the cold or the pouring rain, not because he had to, but because he wanted to train his mind to handle adversity. He embraced challenges others avoided, knowing each was an opportunity to grow stronger. Goggins also developed a mantra that he repeated to himself during moments of doubt: stay hard. These two words became a guiding principle, reminding him to push through pain, fear, and fatigue. They weren't just words. They were a mindset, a commitment to never back down, no matter how difficult the task. The ASVAB Challenge. While losing weight was a monumental task, it was only the first step in Goggins' journey to becoming a SEAL. The next hurdle was passing the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, ASVAB, test, a requirement for joining the military. Goggins had always struggled academically, and his reading comprehension skills were particularly weak. The test was daunting, and he failed it on his first attempt. Instead of giving up, Goggins approached the ASVAB challenge with the same determination he had applied to his physical transformation. He created a study routine that was as rigorous as his workout regimen. He spent hours reading textbooks, practicing problems, and testing himself. He recorded his study sessions to review his mistakes and learn from them. Each failure became a stepping stone, and each slight improvement fueled his motivation. After months of relentless effort, Goggins finally passed the ASVAB. It was a moment of triumph, not just because he had overcome a significant obstacle, but because it proved that hard work and perseverance could conquer even his most significant weaknesses. The journey to SEAL training. With his weight under control and the ASVAB behind him, Goggins faced his next challenge, qualifying for Navy SEAL training. The application process was grueling, involving physical tests, medical exams, and interviews. Goggins knew that even a minor misstep could disqualify him, so he approached each step with meticulous preparation. Once accepted, Goggins entered one of the world's most demanding military training programs, SEAL training, particularly Hell Week. This program is designed to push candidates to their physical and mental limits, and the dropout rate is high. Only the most resilient make it through. Goggins describes the punishing schedule of endless runs, swims, and obstacle courses, often on little to no sleep. The cold, wet conditions tested his endurance, and the constant pressure from instructors forced him to confront his fears. His ability to harness pain and discomfort as fuel set Goggins apart. While others focused on the suffering, he focused on the opportunity to prove his strength. He developed a mindset called taking souls, using his performance to demoralize his competitors and inspire himself. By pushing harder than anyone else, he not only earned the respect of his instructors, but also discovered a deep well of inner strength. Lessons from the impossible task. By the end of the chapter, Goggins has transformed his body and reshaped his entire mindset. He offers several key lessons for anyone facing their own impossible task. 1. Start small. Even the biggest goals can be broken down into manageable steps. Focus on what you can do today, and let those small victories build momentum. 2. Embrace discomfort. Growth requires stepping outside your comfort zone. Seek out challenges that test your limits and teach you resilience. 3. Develop mental grit. Pain is temporary, but the lessons it teaches are permanent. Use every hardship as an opportunity to build your mental toughness. 4. Never quit. The path to success is rarely smooth. Expect setbacks and failures, but don't let them define you. Keep moving forward. 5. Stay accountable. Take responsibility for your actions and outcomes. Don't make excuses. Use your challenges as motivation to work harder. Goggins was ready to take on even more significant challenges, having pushed his mind and body to new heights. The next chapter explores how he continued to test his limits, refining his philosophy of resilience and showing that the impossible is often just a matter of perspective. Chapter 4. Taking Souls. David Goggins introduces a transformative mindset in this chapter, one he calls taking souls. This philosophy isn't about revenge or competition in the traditional sense. It's about reclaiming power and control in adversity by demonstrating exceptional resilience, discipline, and mental strength. Goggins explains that life often places us in situations designed to test our limits, whether through physical pain, mental exhaustion, or personal challenges. Taking souls is about facing those moments with unwavering determination and using them as opportunities to dominate circumstances, inspire others, and silence critics, not by words, but through actions. The foundation of this mindset comes from the idea that most people succumb to challenges because they allow external factors, whether they are critics, complicated situations, or even their doubts, to dictate their performance. Goggins describes how adopting the taking souls mindset allowed him to excel in situations where failure seemed inevitable. It's about surviving hardships and turning them into opportunities to prove strength and capability. In doing so, you gain an edge over your circumstances and mind, which is often the greatest adversary. Hell Week, the ultimate test of grit. To illustrate the power of this mindset, Goggins recounts his experience during Hell Week in Navy SEAL training. Hell Week is designed to push candidates to their physical and mental breaking points. For 5.5 days, the trainees endure relentless physical challenges, frigid conditions, and sleep deprivation, all while being scrutinized by instructors who are experts at identifying and exploiting weaknesses. The dropout rate for Hell Week is notoriously high, and even those who make it through are often left battered and exhausted. For Goggins, Hell Week was more than a grueling training exercise. It was the perfect arena to implement the taking souls philosophy. He describes a ruthless log-carrying exercise where teams of trainees had to lift and carry massive logs across the beach. The logs were heavy, the sand unstable, and the cold biting, making every step a test of endurance. Many trainees, exhausted and demoralized, began to falter. But instead of focusing on the discomfort, Goggins decided to flip the script. He channeled every ounce of his energy into carrying that log with such determination and strength that even his instructors took notice. While others struggled and slowed down, he pushed harder, creating a gap between himself and the rest. The effect was twofold. First, it motivated his teammates, showing them what was possible even in the harshest conditions. Second, it demoralized those who doubted his ability to endure. The instructors, who were used to breaking trainees down, were impressed, if not surprised, by Goggins' performance. This was the essence of taking souls, not letting the situation dictate your performance, but using it to demonstrate unshakable resilience. Turning pain into power. Goggins emphasizes that the ability to take souls doesn't come from physical strength alone. It's a mental game. Life often throws us into situations where the odds are stacked against us. Whether it's a demanding job, a personal hardship, or an athletic challenge, these moments test our ability to persevere. For Goggins, the key was to shift his mindset from seeing these moments as obstacles to viewing them as opportunities. During Hell Week, Goggins faced freezing water swims, endless runs, and sleep deprivation that would have broken most people. But instead of letting the pain overwhelm him, he embraced it. He saw every moment of discomfort as a chance to prove his strength. In one instance, during a long swim in icy waters, he decided that instead of just surviving, he would excel. He swam faster and harder, refusing to let the cold dictate his performance. This mindset didn't just help him endure. It turned the experience into a source of pride and motivation. By taking control of his perspective, Goggins realized that pain and adversity could be powerful tools for growth. He reframed his suffering, seeing it not as something to avoid, but as something to conquer. This shift allowed him to push beyond limits that most people consider insurmountable. The psychological edge. Taking souls is not just about physical dominance, it's about gaining a psychological edge. Goggins explains that you gain a mental advantage when you perform exceptionally in situations where others expect you to fail. This advantage isn't about crushing others, it's about proving to yourself that you can overcome anything. It's a mindset that says, I'm in control, not my circumstances or my critics. For Goggins, this psychological edge became a crucial tool during SEAL training. He recounts how he used others' doubt and negativity as fuel. When instructors pushed the trainees to their limits, Goggins would try harder, not to impress them, but to show himself that he was unbreakable. The effect was undeniable. His performance silenced doubters and inspired those around him to push themselves harder. Goggins explains that this mindset is mighty in competitive environments. Taking souls allows you to rise above challenges and outperform expectations in sports, work, or personal relationships. The key is to focus on effort and attitude, not outcomes. Even if you don't achieve the desired result, giving your all ensures you leave no room for regret or self-doubt. This unwavering commitment demoralizes opponents and strengthens your resolve. Lessons for everyday life. While Goggins' experiences in Hell Week and other extreme environments are extraordinary, he emphasizes that the taking souls mindset can be applied to everyday life. Adversity is not limited to military training. It can also take the form of challenging bosses, personal struggles, and setbacks in pursuit of goals. By adopting this mindset, you can turn these challenges into opportunities for growth and empowerment. 1. Outperform expectations. Aim to exceed your expectations, whether it's a work assignment or a personal goal. This will build your confidence and set you apart as someone who thrives under pressure. 2. Stay composed. Under pressure, when faced with adversity, maintain focus and composure. Panic and frustration only weaken your ability to perform, while calmness gives you an edge. 3. Use criticism as fuel. Instead of letting negativity or doubt hold you back, use it as motivation to prove your critics wrong. Let your actions speak louder than their words. 4. Embrace discomfort. Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. Seek challenges that push you beyond your limits, whether a physical task, a professional goal, or a personal transformation. 5. Focus on the process. Success isn't always about the outcome. It's about the effort and commitment you bring to the journey. Even if you don't achieve your goal, knowing you gave 100% is a victory. Gaining respect and inspiring others. One of the most powerful aspects of the taking souls mindset is its ability to inspire those around you. Goggins explains that when you excel in difficult situations, you prove your resilience and motivate others to push harder. During Hell Week, his teammates were initially intimidated by his intensity, but over time, they began to feed off his energy. His refusal to quit and his determination to excel created a ripple effect, elevating the entire group's performance. This lesson extends beyond the military. Your attitude and effort can profoundly impact those around you in any team environment. By setting a high standard for yourself, you encourage others to do the same. The ultimate takeaway. By the end of this chapter, Goggins has made it clear that taking souls is not about competing with others. It's about competing with yourself. Every challenge, whether a physical task, a professional goal, or a personal struggle, is an opportunity to prove that you are stronger than your circumstances. The mindset of taking souls is a reminder that you always have the power to control how you respond to adversity. Having mastered the art of taking souls, Goggins was ready to push himself further. The next chapter explores how he developed an armored mind, a fortress of resilience and focus that allowed him to withstand the most extreme physical and mental challenges life could throw. This next phase of his journey would redefine what it means to be genuinely unbreakable. Chapter 5. The Armored Mind. David Goggins explains that while physical strength and endurance are crucial, the real key to enduring life's toughest challenges lies in developing an armored mind. This concept revolves around building a fortress of mental resilience that can withstand the harshest circumstances. The mind, he argues, is often the weakest link in our pursuit of greatness. By fortifying it, you can overcome fear, pain, doubt, and even failure, transforming yourself into someone who cannot be broken. The foundations of the armored mind. The journey to developing an armored mind begins with self-awareness. Goggins believes that most people operate at a fraction of their true potential because they let their minds limit them. The mind constantly tells you to stop, to seek comfort, and to avoid pain. It creates excuses, justifies mediocrity, and seeks the path of least resistance. Recognizing these mental traps is the first step toward building resilience. Goggins draws on his own experiences to illustrate this point. From enduring childhood abuse to struggling through Navy SEAL training, he faced countless moments where his mind screamed at him to quit. But instead of giving in, he chose to confront these mental barriers head-on. He didn't just ignore the pain, he leaned into it, using it to strengthen his resolve. This deliberate practice of embracing discomfort allowed him to build the foundation of his armored mind. Fear and its role in weakening the mind. Fear is one of the most potent forces that can undermine mental resilience. It paralyzes people, preventing them from taking risks or pursuing their goals. Goggins explains that fear is a natural response, but becomes problematic when it controls you. The armored mind requires that you confront your fears, not avoid them. Goggins shares a powerful story from his SEAL training days. During a particularly intense exercise, he was tasked with a night dive in cold, dark waters. Being underwater in complete darkness triggered a deep sense of fear, but instead of letting it consume him, he reminded himself that fear was just an emotion. It didn't have to dictate his actions. He completed the dive by focusing on breathing, visualizing success, and trusting his training. This experience reinforced his belief that fear is a mental construct that can be overcome with preparation and mindset. To develop an armored mind, Goggins advises identifying your fears and systematically exposing yourself to them. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, start speaking in small groups and gradually increase the audience size. Each time you confront your fear, you weaken its grip on you. The role of pain and suffering. Pain and suffering are inevitable parts of life, but Goggins argues they are also powerful tools for growth. Most people avoid discomfort, but this avoidance only weakens the mind. The armored mind, on the other hand, embraces pain as an opportunity to build strength. Goggins recalls one of his most grueling endurance challenges, completing a 100-mile ultramarathon with minimal preparation. By mile 70, his body was breaking down, his feet were blistered, his legs were cramping, and he was vomiting from dehydration. Every step felt like torture. But instead of quitting, Goggins used the experience to test the limits of his mental resilience. He focused on one step at a time, blocking the pain and visualizing the finish line. This mindset allowed him to complete the race, proving that his mind was more substantial than his body. Goggins emphasizes that suffering can become a source of strength when approached with the right mindset. By enduring pain and pushing through discomfort, one builds a mental callus that prepares one for more significant challenges. Reframing. Failure. Failure is another major obstacle to building mental resilience. Many view failure as reflecting their inadequacy, leading to shame and discouragement. Goggins, however, sees failure as a necessary step in the growth process. The armored mind doesn't fear failure, it embraces it as a teacher. One of Goggins' most profound lessons in failure came while attempting to break the world record for pull-ups. On his first attempt, he fell short after completing over 2,000 pull-ups in a single session. His body gave out, and he was forced to stop. For most people, this would have been a devastating blow, but Goggins viewed it as an opportunity to learn. He analyzed what went wrong, adjusted his training, and returned stronger. On his third attempt, he broke the record, completing 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours. The lesson here is clear. Failure is not the end. It's a stepping stone to success. The key is to view it not as a setback, but as a valuable learning experience. Every failure provides data that can be used to improve, adapt, and ultimately succeed. Building discipline and focus. The armored mind is built on a foundation of discipline and focus. Goggins explains that mental toughness isn't something you're born with. It's something you cultivate through consistent effort and intentional practice. Discipline is the bridge between goals and achievements. Without it, even the most vigorous mind will falter. Goggins shares how he used discipline to prepare for some of the most challenging moments of his life. Whether he was losing over 100 pounds in 3 months, passing the ASVAB test, or completing Navy SEAL training, he relied on strict routines and unwavering commitment to his goals. He woke up early, followed a rigorous workout schedule, and stuck to his diet, even when inconvenient or uncomfortable. Focus is equally important. In a world full of distractions, the ability to concentrate on your goals is a rare skill. Goggins advises eliminating unnecessary distractions and dedicating daily time to activities that move you closer to your objectives. Whether studying, working out, or developing a new skill, focus ensures that your energy is directed toward meaningful progress. Strategies for building an armored mind. Goggins outlines several practical strategies for developing mental resilience. 1. Embrace discomfort. Seek out challenges that push you outside your comfort zone. Whether it's a physical task, a difficult conversation, or a personal goal. Discomfort is where growth happens. 2. Control your self-talk. Pay attention to the way you speak to yourself. Replace negative thoughts with affirmations that reinforce your strength and determination. 3. Set clear goals. Break down significant goals into smaller, actionable steps. This makes them more manageable and allows you to track your progress. 4. Reflect on your progress. Review your achievements and setbacks. Use this reflection to identify areas for improvement and reinforce your commitment. 5. Surround yourself with positivity. Limit your exposure to negativity, whether from people, the media, or your thoughts. Build a supportive environment that encourages growth. The unbreakable spirit. The essence of the armored mind is the belief that no matter how difficult the situation, you have the strength to overcome it. Goggins explains that life will always throw challenges your way, but how you respond to those challenges defines you. By building an armored mind, you equip yourself with the tools to face anything life throws at you with courage, resilience, and unwavering determination. With his armored mind in place, Goggins was ready to take on challenges that seemed impossible to others. In the next chapter, he explores how pursuing goals for intrinsic reasons, not external validation, can lead to deeper fulfillment and push you to achieve extraordinary results. This is where the journey becomes not just about success, but about purpose. Chapter 6. It's not about a trophy. In this chapter, David Goggins delves into one of the most profound realizations of his journey, the understanding that true fulfillment doesn't come from external accolades or recognition. It's about personal growth, pushing yourself beyond your limits, improving your capabilities. It's not about a trophy is a lesson in intrinsic motivation, teaching us to shift our focus from seeking validation to pursuing meaningful and transformative goals. Beyond external validation, Goggins reflects on his early motivations and how, like many people, he initially sought external recognition to validate his efforts. Whether earning medals, breaking records, or gaining public admiration, he believed that achieving these milestones would bring lasting happiness. However, he quickly realized that trophies, accolades, and applause were fleeting. Once the moment passes, the sense of accomplishment fades, leaving you searching for the next high. Goggins describes this as a trap, a cycle of chasing external validation that never truly satisfies. The turning point came when Goggins questioned why he was pursuing specific goals. He realized that the most meaningful achievements in his life weren't tied to external rewards, but to the internal growth and resilience they fostered. Whether it was enduring the pain of Hell Week, running ultramarathons, or breaking the pull-up world record, the real reward was the strength and discipline he developed along the way. The Misogi Challenge. Goggins introduces the concept of the Misogi Challenge, a term rooted in Japanese culture that represents a purifying ritual through hardship. For Goggins, a misogi is a challenging task that forces you to confront your fears, doubts, and limitations. The purpose isn't to succeed or fail, it's to push yourself as far as possible and discover your capabilities. One of Goggins' personal misogi challenges was running a 100-mile ultramarathon with minimal preparation. He recounts the grueling experience in vivid detail, the pain in his legs, the blisters on his feet, and the mental battle to keep going when every fiber of his being wanted to quit. While crossing the finish line was a significant moment, the real victory came from enduring the journey. The race taught him that the value of any challenge lies in the growth it demands, not the outcome. Goggins encourages readers to set their own misogi challenges. These tasks should push you to the edge of your capabilities, whether it's a physical feat, a professional goal, or a personal transformation. The point isn't to win or achieve perfection. It's to discover the depth of your resilience and the strength within you. Intrinsic motivation, the key to sustained effort. One of the most critical lessons in this chapter is the power of intrinsic motivation. Goggins explains that people who rely solely on external rewards are more likely to give up when those rewards are no longer present. In contrast, those driven by internal goals, like self-improvement, discipline, and mastery, find the strength to keep going, even when no one is watching. Goggins illustrates this concept with a story from his ultramarathon days. During one race, he was lagging, his body exhausted, and his spirit waning. There were no cameras, spectators, or prize money, just miles of empty road ahead. At that moment, he asked himself why he was running. The answer wasn't about winning or impressing others. It was about proving to himself that he could endure. This shift in perspective reignited his determination and carried him across the finish line. The lesson here is clear. When your motivation comes from within, it becomes unshakable. External factors may change, but your commitment to personal growth remains constant. Mastering the process. Goggins emphasizes that focusing on the process rather than the outcome is crucial for long-term success. He shares how he profoundly respects the daily grind, the training, studying, and preparation hours that lead to mastery. While most people fixate on the result, Goggins finds fulfillment in the journey. For example, while preparing to break the pull-up world record, Goggins relentlessly spent months training. Each day, he focused not on the record, but on perfecting his technique, building his endurance, and strengthening his resolve. This mindset allowed him to stay disciplined and motivated, even when progress was slow or setbacks occurred. Goggins challenges readers to adopt this mindset in their own lives. Instead of obsessing over the end goal, focus on the actions you can take today. Whether studying for an exam, training for a race, or building a new skill, find joy in the improvement process. Over time, these small, consistent efforts compound into extraordinary achievements, reframing success. Goggins argues that success is not about reaching a specific milestone, it's about who you become in the process. He explains that many people measure success by external markers like wealth, titles, or recognition, but these metrics often lead to dissatisfaction. True success is about living in alignment with your values, pushing your limits, and striving to become the best version of yourself. This reframing of success is significant for those facing setbacks or failures. Goggins reminds readers that even when they don't achieve their desired outcome, their effort is never wasted. Whether they succeed or fail, every challenge teaches them something valuable about themselves and their capabilities. Actionable takeaways. 1. Set internal goals. Focus on what drives you personally, not what impresses others. Define success on your terms. 2. Create a Misogi challenge. Choose a task that pushes you to your limits, not for winning, but for growth. 3. Celebrate the process. Find fulfillment in the daily effort and discipline required to achieve your goals. The journey is often more rewarding than the destination. 4th, let go of external validation. Recognize that trophies and accolades are temporary. What truly matters is the person you become as you pursue your goals. 5. Redefine failure. View setbacks as opportunities to learn and grow. Every effort, regardless of the outcome, builds resilience and character. The takeaway: growth over glory. By the end of this chapter, Goggins makes it clear that the real reward of any challenge lies in the growth it demands. Trophies gather dust, applause fades, and recognition is fleeting, but the lessons you learn and the strength you build stay with you forever. The key is to focus on intrinsic motivation and to embrace challenges as opportunities for self-discovery and transformation. Having embraced the growth mindset over glory, Goggins was ready to tackle even more significant challenges. The next chapter explores the 40% rule, a powerful principle that reveals how most people operate far below their true potential and how tapping into the remaining 60% can lead to extraordinary breakthroughs. This rule would become one of the most defining philosophies of Goggins' life. Chapter 7, the 40% rule. In this chapter, David Goggins introduces one of his most well-known principles, the 40% rule. This rule posits that when your mind tells you to quit, you only tap into 40% of your true potential. The remaining 60% lies beyond the barriers of pain, fear, and exhaustion, waiting to be unlocked. Goggins argues that most people never reach their full capacity because they give up too soon, allowing their minds to limit their performance. By understanding and applying the 40% rule, you can push beyond what you think is possible and achieve extraordinary results. The origin of the 40% rule: Goggins developed the 40% rule during some of his most grueling challenges, including Hell Week and ultramarathon races. He realized the human mind is wired to seek comfort and avoid pain. When you experience discomfort, your brain sends signals to stop, not because you're incapable of continuing, but because it wants to conserve energy and avoid risk. However, these signals are often premature. Your body is capable of far more than your mind believes, but unlocking that potential requires mental toughness and the willingness to endure discomfort. One of Goggins' early experiences with the 40% rule came during Navy SEAL training. After hours of relentless physical exertion, when his body felt like it couldn't take another step, he discovered that he could keep going simply by refusing to quit. Each time he pushed through the pain, he realized he had reserves of energy and strength he hadn't tapped into. This revelation became a cornerstone of his philosophy and a driving force in his life. Breaking through mental barriers. Goggins emphasizes that the key to applying the 40% rule is learning to identify and challenge the mental barriers that hold you back. These barriers are often rooted in fear, self-doubt, and past failures. For example, when you're running and feel the urge to stop, your mind tells you it's because you're exhausted. In reality, it's your brain trying to protect you from discomfort. By recognizing these signals as limitations imposed by your mind, you can begin to override them. To illustrate this, Goggins shares a story from one of his ultramarathons. During a 100-mile race, he reached a point where his body was in excruciating pain. His feet were blistered, his legs were cramping, and his energy levels were depleted. Every rational thought told him to stop. But instead of giving in, he tapped into the 40% rule. He reminded himself that the pain was temporary and that he had far more left to give. He kept moving forward, one step at a time, by breaking the race into smaller, manageable segments. Eventually, he finished the race, proving to himself that the limits he thought existed were merely illusions. Building mental calluses. The 40% rule isn't just about physical endurance, it's about building what Goggins calls mental calluses. Just as calluses on your hands protect them from wear and tear, mental calluses protect your mind from life's emotional and psychological challenges. These calluses are formed through repeated exposure to discomfort and adversity. Each time you push through pain, fear, or doubt, you strengthen your mental resilience, making it easier to endure future challenges. Goggins explains that building mental calluses requires deliberate effort. You can't wait for motivation to strike or perfect conditions to arise. Instead, you must seek out discomfort and embrace it as a tool for growth. Whether waking up early, taking on a complex project, or pushing yourself in a workout, every act of discipline contributes to mental toughness. The power of small wins. One practical way to apply the 40% rule is to focus on small wins. When faced with a daunting challenge, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Goggins advises breaking the task into smaller, achievable steps. For example, during an ultramarathon, he would concentrate on running to the next checkpoint instead of focusing on the remaining miles. Each small win built momentum, reinforcing his belief that he could keep going. This principle applies to all areas of life. If you're studying for an exam, master one chapter at a time. If you're training for a race, focus on completing today's workout instead of worrying about the entire program. Celebrating small victories builds confidence and motivation to tackle the next step. Facing the Governor Goggins uses the analogy of a governor to describe the mental mechanisms that limit performance. In mechanical terms, a governor is a device that restricts the speed of an engine to prevent it from overexerting. Similarly, your mind acts as a governor, imposing artificial limits to protect you from perceived harm. The problem, Goggins argues, is that these limits are overly conservative. They prevent you from reaching your full potential, even when you can do more. Goggins suggests reprogramming your mind through consistent effort and self-discipline to disable the governor. This involves pushing past the point where you want to quit and proving that you can endure more. Over time, as you challenge your limits, your mind begins to recalibrate, recognizing that you're capable of far more than previously believed. The role of visualization. Visualization is another powerful tool in applying the 40% rule. Goggins explains that before embarking on a challenge, he mentally prepares himself by visualizing the obstacles and how he'll overcome them. For example, before a challenging race, he imagines the pain, fatigue, and moments of doubt he'll encounter. By visualizing his response, pushing through the discomfort, maintaining focus, and crossing the finish line, he primes his mind for success. This technique can be applied to any goal. For example, if you're preparing for a presentation, visualize yourself speaking confidently and efficiently, handling questions. If you're starting a fitness journey, imagine yourself completing workouts and achieving your desired results. Visualization helps you mentally rehearse success, making it easier to execute when the time comes. The 40% rule in everyday life. Goggins emphasizes that the 40% rule isn't just for elite athletes or Navy SEALs. It's a mindset anyone can adopt. Whether you're facing a challenging project at work, navigating a personal crisis, or pursuing a long-term goal, the principles of the 40% rule can help you push beyond your perceived limits. 1. Recognize when you're at 40%. Pay attention to the moments you feel like quitting. Ask yourself if you've reached your limit or your mind is holding you back. 2. Break down challenges. Instead of focusing on the entire journey, focus on one step at a time. This will make overwhelming tasks more manageable. 3. Embrace discomfort. Seek out situations that test your endurance, whether a challenging workout, a difficult conversation, or a new skill. 4. Celebrate progress. Acknowledge small victories along the way. Each win reinforces your belief in your ability to keep going. 5. Reframe pain as growth. View discomfort as a necessary part of the process. Every moment of pain is an opportunity to build resilience. The ultimate takeaway. The 40% rule reminds us that most people operate far below their potential. By challenging the limits imposed by your mind, you can tap into reserves of strength and resilience you didn't know existed. The key is to recognize that pain, fear, and exhaustion are temporary, but the lessons they teach are lasting. By embracing discomfort and refusing to quit, you unlock a level of performance and fulfillment that few ever experience. Having learned to push beyond his limits, Goggins was ready to pursue goals that were not only physically demanding, but also profoundly personal and meaningful. The next chapter explores how he became uncommon among the uncommon, setting standards for himself that went far beyond the expectations of others and redefining what it means to be extraordinary. Chapter 8. Uncommon among the uncommon. In this chapter, David Goggins delves into becoming uncommon among the uncommon. This philosophy extends beyond striving for excellence. It's about setting yourself apart, even in elite circles where greatness is already the norm. For Goggins, this mindset represents the pinnacle of self-discipline, resilience, and personal accountability. Implying in ordinary circumstances is not enough. Growth comes from pushing yourself to be exceptional, even when surrounded by the best of the best. The mentality of exceptionalism. Goggins explains that many people are content to reach a certain level of success and then coast, feeling they've achieved enough. However, this complacency is the enemy of greatness. You must resist the urge to settle and constantly seek improvement to become uncommon among the uncommon. This mindset requires you to hold yourself to a higher standard than anyone else, even when it feels unnecessary or excessive. One of Goggins' key lessons is that being uncommon isn't about comparing yourself to others. It's about constantly striving to outdo your previous self. It's about finding your limits, breaking through them, and setting new benchmarks for what's possible. This relentless pursuit of self-improvement separates the truly exceptional from the merely competent. Raising the bar in elite environments. Goggins shares stories from his time in the Navy SEALs to illustrate what it means to be uncommon among the uncommon. Even within the SEALs, an organization known for its rigorous standards and elite training, he refused to settle for being average. While others met the minimum requirements, Goggins went above and beyond, pushing himself to outperform his peers and his instructors' expectations. One particularly striking example comes from his experience during BUDS training. While most trainees focused on surviving each day, Goggins made it a point to excel in every task, no matter how small. Whether swimming, running, or carrying heavy loads, he approached each exercise with the intention of being the best. This attitude didn't just earn him respect, it also inspired others to push themselves harder, elevating the performance of the entire group. Goggins emphasizes that this mindset isn't about seeking recognition or approval, it's about personal pride and integrity. By holding yourself to the highest standard, you develop a sense of self-respect and inner strength that no external validation can match. The importance of humility. While striving to be uncommon among the uncommon requires confidence, Goggins stresses the importance of maintaining humility. He warns against the dangers of arrogance, which can lead to complacency and blind spots. True greatness, he argues, comes from recognizing that there is always room for improvement and that no one is immune to failure. Goggins illustrates this point with a humbling experience from his military career. He underestimated the task's difficulty during a grueling training exercise and overestimated his readiness. As a result, he struggled to keep up and nearly failed. This experience taught him that no matter how skilled or prepared you are, there's always more to learn and room to grow. He explains that humility keeps you grounded and hungry for improvement. Becoming a leader by example. Another key aspect of being uncommon among the uncommon is the ability to inspire others through your actions. Goggins believes true leaders don't rely on words or authority, but lead by example. Whether in the military, work, or personal relationships, your actions set the tone for those around you. Goggins shares how his relentless work ethic and commitment to excellence earned him the respect of his peers and superiors. During Hell Week, when others were on the verge of quitting, he pushed himself harder, showing that it was possible to endure. His example motivated others to keep going and created a culture of resilience and accountability. This principle applies to all areas of life. Whether leading a team, raising a family, or pursuing personal goals, your behavior influences those around you. Holding yourself to a higher standard inspires others to do the same, creating a ripple effect that elevates everyone. Practical steps to become uncommon. Among the uncommon, Goggins provides actionable strategies for adopting this mindset. 1. Set higher standards. Identify areas where you're coasting or settling for mediocrity. Raise the bar and commit to exceeding expectations, even when uncomfortable. 2. Embrace the grind. Success doesn't come from occasional bursts of effort. It comes from consistent, disciplined work over time. Focus on the process, not just the results. 3. Learn from failure. Instead of fearing mistakes, use them as opportunities to grow. Analyze what went wrong, make adjustments, and come back stronger. 4. Stay humble. Never assume you've reached the pinnacle of your potential. Always look for ways to improve and remain open to feedback. 5. Lead by example. Let your actions speak louder than words. Through your commitment and resilience, show others what's possible. Overcoming the pressure of expectations. One of the challenges of being uncommon among the uncommon is dealing with the pressure that comes with high expectations. Goggins explains that when you set yourself apart, others may begin to rely on you or place unrealistic demands on your performance. This pressure can be overwhelming, but it's also an opportunity to grow even stronger. Goggins shares how he managed this pressure during his military career. Instead of letting it weigh him down, he used it as motivation to work even harder. He viewed every expectation as a chance to prove himself, not to others, but to himself. He maintained control over his mindset and performance by focusing on his internal goals rather than external demands. The true meaning of being uncommon. Ultimately, being uncommon among the uncommon is about living with purpose and integrity. It's not about chasing recognition or accolades. It's about fulfilling your potential and maximizing your abilities. Goggins reminds readers that the journey is never easy, but always worth it. The rewards of this mindset go far beyond success. They include self-respect, resilience, and a sense of fulfillment that comes from knowing you gave your all. Actionable takeaways. 1. Focus on self-improvement. Strive to be better than you were yesterday, regardless of external recognition. 2. Surround yourself with excellence. Seek out environments and communities that challenge you to grow and hold you accountable. 3. Adopt a growth mindset. View every challenge as an opportunity to learn and improve. 4. Stay grounded. Balance confidence with humility, recognizing there's always more to achieve. 5. Inspire others. Use your actions to motivate and uplift those around you, creating a positive ripple effect. The ultimate takeaway. Becoming uncommon among the uncommon is not a destination. It's a lifelong journey. It requires relentless effort, unwavering discipline, and a commitment to growth. By embracing this mindset, you unlock a level of resilience and excellence that few achieve, setting yourself apart, not just in your achievements, but also in how you live your life. With the mindset of being uncommon among the uncommon firmly ingrained, Goggins was prepared to tackle his most significant challenges yet. The next chapter explores how he used visualization, mental preparation, and an unbreakable will to conquer obstacles that seemed impossible, proving that the mind is the ultimate tool for achieving greatness. Chapter 9. Visualizing Victory. David Goggins introduces the power of visualization and mental preparation as critical tools for overcoming challenges and achieving extraordinary goals. In this chapter, he explains how crafting a vivid mental image of success can propel you forward, even in the face of immense adversity. Visualization isn't about wishful thinking. It's a deliberate practice that prepares your mind and body for the realities of the battle ahead. This chapter dives into how Goggins used visualization to conquer the impossible and how readers can apply this technique in their own lives. The power of mental rehearsal. Goggins emphasizes that every outstanding achievement begins in the mind. Visualization mentally rehearses success, allowing you to prepare for obstacles and build confidence in overcoming them. By visualizing the steps required to reach your goal, you create a roadmap that guides your actions and strengthens your resolve. He recounts how, before attempting the pull-up world record, he spent weeks visualizing every aspect of the challenge. He imagined the pain in his arms, the sweat dripping from his body, and the moments when doubt would creep in. But he also visualized pushing through the pain, completing each pull-up, and breaking the record. This mental preparation allowed him to stay focused and resilient during the event, even when his body faltered. Visualization doesn't guarantee success, but it equips you with the mental tools to persevere. By rehearsing success in your mind, you make it easier to execute in real life. Preparing for the worst. Goggins explains that visualization isn't just about imagining the best-case scenario. It's also about preparing for the worst. Challenges rarely go as planned, and unforeseen obstacles are inevitable. By visualizing potential setbacks and rehearsing how you'll respond, you build the mental flexibility needed to adapt and persevere. For example, before his first ultramarathon, Goggins visualized every possible obstacle: dehydration, cramps, blisters, and mental fatigue. He didn't just imagine crossing the finish line. He imagined himself enduring the pain, pushing through exhaustion, and finding the strength to keep going. When these obstacles arose during the race, he wasn't caught off guard. He had already prepared his mind to face them. This negative visualization practice helps you anticipate challenges and develop strategies to overcome them. It ensures you're not blindsided by difficulties, allowing you to stay composed and focused under pressure. Building confidence through visualization. One of the most significant benefits of visualization is the confidence it instills. Goggins explains that self-doubt is one of the most critical barriers to success. When you don't believe in your ability to achieve a goal, you're less likely to put in the effort required to reach it. Visualization counteracts this by creating a mental image of success that feels real and attainable. Goggins shares how he used visualization to overcome his fear of water during Navy SEAL training. Growing up with a deep fear of swimming, he struggled with the rigorous water exercises required in Bodes. Instead of letting this fear paralyze him, he visualized himself mastering the techniques, staying calm in the water, and passing the tests. Rehearsing these scenarios, he built the confidence to face his fears and succeed. The key to effective visualization is to make it as vivid as possible. Imagine every detail, the sights, sounds, and emotions you'll experience when you achieve your goal. The more realistic the image, the more powerful its impact on your mindset. Action boards, a physical representation of visualization. In addition to mental visualization, Goggins introduces the concept of creating an action board as a tangible representation of your goals. Unlike a traditional vision board, which focuses on aspirations, an action board highlights the steps required to achieve those aspirations. It is a daily reminder of what you're working toward and the effort needed. Goggins describes creating an action board while preparing for the pull-up world record. He wrote down his training schedule, key milestones, and motivational quotes, and placed them where he could see them daily. This visual reinforcement kept him focused and accountable, reminding him of his commitment to the goal. Creating your own action board can be a powerful way to reinforce your visualization practice. Use it to outline your goals, track your progress, and stay motivated as you work toward success. Overcoming mental resistance. One of the most important aspects of visualization is its ability to help you overcome mental resistance. Goggins explains that the mind is often the biggest obstacle to success, creating doubt, fear, and excuses that hold you back. Visualization helps you push past these barriers by focusing on what's possible rather than comfortable. During his preparation for Hell Week, Goggins visualized himself completing every task, no matter how grueling. He imagined the cold water, the sand sticking to his skin, and the exhaustion in his muscles. But he also imagined the satisfaction of making it through, the pride of proving himself, and the growth from enduring the pain. This mental rehearsal allowed him to push through moments of doubt and discomfort, knowing that he had already prepared his mind for the challenge. Practical steps for visualization. Goggins provides practical advice for incorporating visualization into your daily life. 1. Define your goal. Be specific about your goal. The more precise your goal, the easier it is to visualize. 2. Imagine the process. Focus on the outcome and the steps required. Visualize yourself working hard and overcoming obstacles. 3. Prepare for setbacks. Anticipate challenges and rehearse how you respond. This builds mental flexibility and resilience. 4. Make it vivid. Use all your senses to create a realistic mental image. The more detailed your visualization, the more impactful it will be. 5. Reinforce with action. Pair your visualization with consistent effort. Use it as a tool to guide your actions and stay motivated. The takeaway: success starts in the mind. By the end of this chapter, Goggins makes it clear that visualization is not a passive exercise. It's an active tool for success. It allows you to mentally prepare for challenges, build confidence, and focus on your goals. When combined with disciplined effort and resilience, visualization becomes a powerful force for achieving the extraordinary. Having mastered the art of visualization, Goggins was ready to tackle challenges that tested the limits of his endurance and resolve. In the next chapter, he explores how to stay disciplined and committed in adversity, ensuring that no goal remains out of reach. This is where the concept of mastering the grind takes center stage. Chapter 10: Mastering the Grind. David Goggins emphasizes the critical importance of discipline and persistence in achieving greatness. In this chapter, he introduces the concept of mastering the grind, which refers to embracing the daily effort and consistency required to accomplish extraordinary goals. Success, he argues, isn't about bursts of motivation or talent. It's about showing up every single day, even when you don't feel like it. Mastering the grind builds the habits and resilience necessary to overcome obstacles and stay on track. The power of consistency. Goggins begins by explaining that consistency is the foundation of success. While it's easy to feel motivated at the start of a new challenge, actual progress comes from maintaining that effort over time. This requires discipline, acting according to your goals, not your feelings. He reminds readers that motivation is fleeting, but discipline creates lasting results. One of Goggins' most potent examples of consistency is his preparation for ultramarathons. Unlike shorter races, ultramarathons require months of grueling training to build the physical and mental endurance needed to cover 100 miles or more. Goggins shares how he woke up early every morning, rain or shine, to run long distances and condition his body. There were days when he felt tired, unmotivated, or overwhelmed, but he showed up anyway, knowing that each training session was a step closer to his goal. Embracing the process. Mastering the grind also means embracing the process, not just the outcome. Goggins emphasizes that the journey is often more rewarding than the destination. When you focus solely on results, you risk becoming discouraged by setbacks or slow progress. But when you commit to the process, you find purpose and fulfillment in the daily effort. During his preparation for Navy SEAL training, Goggins adopted this mindset. The rigorous workouts, mental challenges, and sleepless nights weren't just obstacles to overcome. They were opportunities to grow stronger. By shifting his focus from achieving the final goal to improving each day, he was able to stay motivated and resilient, even in the most challenging moments. Overcoming resistance. One of the biggest challenges in mastering the grind is overcoming resistance. Resistance comes in many forms: procrastination, self-doubt, fatigue, and external distractions. Goggins explains that these obstacles are inevitable but don't have to derail your progress. The key is to develop strategies for pushing through them. Goggins shares a story from his time in BUDS training when he felt physically and mentally drained after weeks of intense drills. Quitting seemed the easiest option, and many of his fellow trainees gave in to that temptation. But instead of giving up, Goggins reminded himself of his commitment and focused on completing the next task. He could keep going by breaking the challenge into smaller, manageable steps, even when the odds were against him. To overcome resistance in your own life, Goggins recommends: 1. Focus on your why. Remember why you started and what you stand to gain by persevering. 2. Break it down. Divide large tasks into smaller steps to make them less overwhelming. 3. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge your progress, no matter how small, to maintain momentum. 4. Stay accountable. Hold yourself responsible for your actions and outcomes, even when no one is watching. The role of habits. Habits play a crucial role in mastering the grind. Goggins explains that when you establish consistent routines, you reduce the mental effort required to take action. Instead of relying on willpower or motivation, you create systems that make success inevitable. For example, during his training, Goggins developed a strict morning routine. He would wake up at the same time each day, complete a series of exercises, and plan his schedule. This routine became second nature, allowing him to focus his energy on more critical tasks. By automating the basics, he freed up mental bandwidth to tackle more considerable challenges. He encourages readers to identify the habits that align with their goals and consistently commit to them. Whether it's waking up early, exercising regularly, or dedicating time to personal development, these small daily actions add up over time. Grinding through pain. Pain is an inevitable part of the grind, but Goggins argues it's also one of the most valuable teachers. He shares how enduring physical and emotional pain during his toughest challenges helped him develop resilience and mental toughness. Pain, he explains, is temporary, but the lessons it teaches are permanent. During one of his ultramarathons, Goggins reached a point where his body was breaking down. His feet were blistered, his legs were cramping, and his energy levels were depleted. Every step felt like a battle. But instead of quitting, he embraced the pain and used it as fuel. He reminded himself that the discomfort was a sign of growth, proof that he was pushing his limits. Goggins advises readers to reframe their perspective on pain. Instead of viewing it as a reason to stop, they should see it as an opportunity to build strength and character. Each moment of discomfort is a chance to prove they can endure more than they think. Finding joy in the grind. While the grind can be challenging, Goggins emphasizes the importance of finding joy. This doesn't mean the work will always be enjoyable, but it does mean appreciating the growth and progress of consistent effort. When you learn to love the grind, you transform it from a chore into a source of pride and fulfillment. Goggins shares how he found joy in the daily effort during his pull-up world record attempt. While the training was grueling and often monotonous, he took pride in each pull-up completed, knowing it brought him closer to his goal. This mindset allowed him to stay motivated and focused, even when progress was slow. Actionable takeaways. 1. Commit to consistency. Show up daily, regardless of how you feel. Success is built on consistent effort, not occasional bursts of motivation. 2. Develop routines. Establish habits and routines that support your goals, making it easier to stay on track. 3. Embrace pain. Use discomfort as a tool for growth, knowing that each challenge makes you stronger. 4. Focus on progress. Celebrate small wins and improvements, even if the final goal is still far away. 5. Find purpose in the process. Shift your mindset from seeking results to appreciating the journey. The takeaway: the grind never stops. Mastering the grind is not about reaching a specific milestone, it's about committing to daily growth and improvement. Goggins reminds readers that the grind is a lifelong journey that requires discipline, resilience, and an unwavering focus on your goals. By embracing the daily effort and finding purpose in the struggle, you can achieve extraordinary results and unlock your full potential. With the grind as his foundation, Goggins was ready to take on challenges that demanded physical endurance and an unyielding mental resolve. The next chapter explores how he turned every hardship into an opportunity to grow stronger, redefining what it means to thrive under pressure. This is where the idea of turning obstacles into fuel takes center stage. Chapter 11. Turning Obstacles into Fuel. In this chapter, David Goggins highlights one of the most transformative mindsets: the ability to turn life's obstacles into fuel for personal growth and achievement. While most people view setbacks as roadblocks, Goggins argues that they are opportunities to build resilience, mental toughness, and character. This perspective separates those who thrive under pressure from those who crumble. The chapter provides insights into how Goggins transformed some of his most significant challenges into stepping stones for success, and how you can do the same. Reframing. Setbacks as opportunities. Reframing how you perceive obstacles is the key to turning them into fuel. Goggins explains that hardships are inevitable, but they don't have to define or limit you. Instead of seeing them as reasons to quit, you can use them as opportunities to learn, grow, and strengthen your resolve. This shift in perspective requires a conscious effort to focus on what you can control rather than dwelling on what you can't. Goggins shared a story from his early life when he struggled with self-esteem and obesity. At his heaviest, he weighed nearly 300 pounds and felt trapped in a cycle of unhealthy habits and negative thinking. Instead of accepting this as his reality, he used it as motivation to transform himself. He started exercising, changed his diet, and adopted a disciplined lifestyle. Each small victory fueled his determination, proving that he was capable of more than he thought. This transformation wasn't easy, but it was a testament to the power of reframing obstacles as opportunities. Goggins turned his weight and low self-esteem from sources of shame into catalysts for growth. The accountability mirror, a key tool. Goggins used to confront and overcome his obstacles was the accountability mirror. This practice involves looking at yourself honestly and holding yourself accountable for your actions, decisions, and circumstances. Goggins explains that the mirror doesn't lie. It reflects who you are, not who you wish to be. He recalls writing down his goals and posting them in the mirror as daily reminders. Each time he looked at himself, he faced the hard truth about where he was and wanted to be. This practice forced him to take ownership of his life and stop making excuses. Instead of blaming external factors, he focused on what he could do to change his situation. The accountability mirror is a powerful tool for anyone facing obstacles. By acknowledging your challenges and committing to action, you take the first step toward overcoming them, finding strength in adversity. Goggins emphasizes that adversity is not a sign of weakness. It's a crucible that reveals one's true strength. He explains that some of his most significant breakthroughs came during extreme hardship when he was forced to dig deep and find resilience he didn't know he had. One of the most striking examples came during a brutal Navy SEAL training exercise. Goggins was suffering from multiple injuries and felt on the verge of collapse. Every rational thought told him to quit. But instead of giving in, he focused on the bigger picture, his goal of becoming a SEAL and the growth he would achieve by pushing through the pain. This mindset allowed him to endure the exercise and emerge stronger on the other side. Goggins encourages readers to adopt the same approach when facing adversity. Instead of avoiding discomfort, lean into it. Use it as a test of your resilience and a chance to prove your capabilities. The cookie jar. Another strategy. Goggins used to overcome obstacles is what he calls the cookie jar. This concept involves drawing on past successes and triumphs as a source of motivation when faced with new challenges. Each cookie represents a moment when you overcame adversity, achieved a goal, or proved your strength. By revisiting these memories, you remind yourself of your capabilities and build confidence to tackle current obstacles. Goggins shares how he used the cookie jar during one of his ultramarathons. Exhausted and in pain, he recalled moments from his past when he had defied the odds, graduating from Navy SEAL training, losing over 100 pounds, and completing previous races. Each memory was a cookie that fueled his determination and pushed him to keep going. To create your own cookie jar, Goggins advises reflecting on your achievements and remembering them as reminders of your strength. Whether it's a professional success, a personal milestone, or a time when you overcame adversity, these cookies can serve as powerful motivators during difficult times. Turning criticism into motivation. Goggins explains that criticism and doubt from others can also be powerful fuel sources. Instead of letting negativity discourage you, use it as motivation to prove your critics wrong. He shares how, throughout his life, people doubted his abilities, from his teachers to his SEAL instructors. Rather than internalizing their negativity, he used it as a challenge to rise above their expectations. For example, many people dismissed it as impossible when he announced his goal to break the pull-up world record. Instead of letting their doubt affect him, Goggins used it as fuel to train harder and stay focused. When he eventually broke the record, it wasn't just a victory over the task, but a statement to everyone who had underestimated him. Goggins advises reframing criticism as an opportunity to prove your resilience. Let it motivate you to push harder, perform better, and achieve beyond what others think is possible. Actionable takeaways. 1. Reframe obstacles. View challenges as opportunities for growth, not reasons to quit. 2. Use the accountability mirror. Be honest with yourself and commit to action. Please write down your goals and review them daily. 3. Build a cookie jar. Reflect on past successes and use them as motivation to tackle current challenges. 4. Embrace adversity. Recognize that discomfort is necessary for growth. Lean into it and use it to build resilience. 5. Turn criticism into fuel. Use doubt and negativity from others as motivation to prove your strength. The ultimate takeaway. Goggins clarifies that obstacles are not barriers, they are stepping stones. By changing your perspective and using challenges as fuel, you can transform adversity into an opportunity for growth and achievement. This mindset doesn't just help you overcome obstacles, it empowers you to thrive in any situation, no matter how difficult. Transition to next chapter. Having mastered the ability to turn obstacles into fuel, Goggins was prepared to push himself to even greater heights. The next chapter explores how embracing discomfort and seeking out challenges can lead to unparalleled personal growth, unlocking a version of yourself you never thought possible. This is where the journey of relentless self-improvement truly begins. Chapter 12. Callusing Your Mind. In this chapter, David Goggins delves deeper into the idea of mental toughness, describing how he developed what he calls callusing the mind. Just as physical calluses form on your hands to protect them from repeated friction and wear, mental calluses form in your mind through repeated exposure to discomfort and adversity. These calluses act as armor, enabling you to withstand challenges and push beyond the limits of what you thought was possible. Goggins emphasizes that calling your mind is not a one-time effort, it's a lifelong practice of deliberately seeking out and embracing discomfort. The need for mental toughness. Goggins explains that mental toughness isn't an innate quality. It's something you build through repeated effort and discipline. Most people shy away from challenges because they fear failure or discomfort, but this avoidance only reinforces mental weakness. The more you avoid hard things, the less prepared you are to face them when they arise. Callusing your mind requires you to do the opposite, to intentionally confront difficulty, embrace failure, and grow stronger with each experience. To illustrate this, Goggins shares his grueling preparation for BUDS training. He pushed himself daily to run longer distances, lift heavier weights, and endure harsher conditions. He sought out discomfort not because it was enjoyable, but because it was necessary to strengthen his mental resilience. Over time, he developed the mental calluses that allowed him to thrive in one of the most demanding environments in the world. Repetition as the key to strength-building mental calluses, like building physical ones, requires repetition. Goggins emphasizes that it's not enough to face adversity once. You must repeatedly expose yourself to difficult situations to build true resilience. Each time you push through a challenge, you add another layer of toughness to your mind. For example, Goggins recounts how he trained for ultramarathons by running in extreme weather conditions. Whether it was scorching heat, cold, or pouring rain, he forced himself to run, knowing that each step was strengthening his mind. The discomfort was temporary, but the mental calluses he developed were permanent. These experiences prepared him to handle ultramarathon races, physical and mental demands, where endurance and mental strength are often more important than speed. Facing failure. Head on. Goggins highlights the importance of failure in the process of closing your mind. He explains that failure is not something to fear or avoid. It's a critical part of growth. Each failure is an opportunity to learn, adapt, and become stronger. However, this requires you to confront failure honestly and use it as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. One of the most potent examples is Goggins' attempt to break the pull-up world record. He failed on his first 2 attempts, his body gave out, and he was forced to stop short of the goal. But instead of letting these failures defeat him, Goggins analyzed what went wrong and adjusted his training. He approached his 3rd attempt with renewed purpose and eventually succeeded, completing 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours. Goggins encourages readers to adopt the same mindset. When you fail, please do not see it as the end of the road. Instead, view it as a lesson and an opportunity to come back stronger. Each failure adds a layer of toughness to your mind, preparing you for future challenges. Seeking out discomfort. To callus your mind, you must actively seek out discomfort. Goggins explains that most people live in comfort zones, avoiding challenging situations. While this may feel safe, it also limits growth. True strength comes from stepping outside your comfort zone and confronting the conditions that make you uncomfortable. Goggins shares how he used this principle in his daily life. Whether waking up early, running long distances, or tackling complex tasks at work, he sought out activities that pushed him beyond his limits. Each time he faced discomfort, he became more resilient, disciplined, and prepared to handle whatever life threw. He challenges readers to identify areas where they've become too comfortable and intentionally seek out challenges. This could be as simple as waking up an hour earlier, starting a new fitness routine, or taking on a project that scares you. The key is to make discomfort a regular part of your life. The 40% rule. Revisited. In this chapter, Goggins revisits the 40% rule, emphasizing its role in callusing the mind. He explains that when your mind tells you to quit, you only reach 40% of your true potential. The remaining 60% lies beyond the barriers of pain, fatigue, and doubt. Callusing your mind is pushing through that 40% barrier and accessing the untapped reserves of strength and resilience within you. Goggins describes how he applied the 40% rule during one of his ultramarathons. After running for hours, his body was in excruciating pain and his mind was screaming at him to stop. But instead of quitting, he reminded himself that he had more to give. He took one step at a time, blocking out the pain and doubt. By pushing through the 40% barrier, he discovered a level of endurance he didn't know he had. Practical steps for callusing your mind. Goggins provides actionable strategies for building mental toughness. 1. Face your fears. Identify what scares you and take steps to confront it. Fear is often a sign of an area where you need to grow. 2. Seek challenges. Regularly expose yourself to situations that push you outside your comfort zone. This could be physical, mental, or emotional challenges. 3. Embrace failure. Don't fear mistakes or setbacks. Use them as opportunities to learn and strengthen your resilience. 4. Push past limits. When you feel like quitting, remember the 40% rule and keep going. 5. Create a routine. Establish habits that force you to confront discomfort daily, whether it's through exercise, work, or personal growth activities. The reward of a calloused mind. By the end of this chapter, Goggins clarifies that calling your mind is not about avoiding pain or hardship. It's about transforming them into tools for growth. Each challenge you face, each failure you endure, and each discomfort you embrace adds another layer of toughness to your mind. Over time, this mental armor becomes your greatest asset, enabling you to face any obstacle with confidence and determination. With a calloused mind as his foundation, Goggins was ready to push himself to endurance and resilience that most people would consider impossible. The next chapter explores how he used these mental tools to tackle some of his life's most extreme challenges, proving that the mind is the most potent weapon. Chapter 14. Setting Impossible Goals. David Goggins dives into the transformative power of setting seemingly impossible goals. He explains that most people limit their ambitions to what feels safe or achievable, but actual growth and fulfillment come from pursuing goals that push you beyond your limits. These impossible goals challenge your mind, body, and spirit, forcing you to confront your fears, redefine your capabilities, and become the best version of yourself. In this chapter, Goggins shares how setting and chasing impossible goals has shaped his journey and provides practical advice for applying this principle. Why set impossible goals? Goggins begins by challenging the conventional wisdom of setting realistic goals. He argues that when you aim low, you rob yourself of the opportunity to discover your full potential. Safe goals may be easier to achieve, but don't inspire growth or transformation. On the other hand, impossible goals demand that you push beyond your perceived limits, uncovering strengths and abilities you didn't know you had. He shares an example from his life, his decision to become a Navy SEAL despite being overweight, out of shape, and plagued by self-doubt. At the time, the goal seemed impossible. The physical and mental demands of SEAL training were far beyond anything he had ever experienced. But by committing to this goal and taking consistent action, he transformed himself from an unhappy, unhealthy man into one of the most challenging individuals in the world. The process was grueling, but the rewards were immeasurable. Goggins emphasizes that impossible goals aren't about the result, but the person you become. Striking for greatness builds resilience, discipline, and self-respect. The mental shift required. Achieving impossible goals requires a fundamental shift in mindset. Goggins explains that most people are held back by fear of failure, self-doubt, and others' opinions. To pursue an impossible goal, one must let go of these limiting beliefs and embrace a mindset of relentless determination. He recounts how he overcame his fear of failure while preparing for the pull-up world record. The goal required him to perform over 4,000 pull-ups in 24 hours, a feat that seemed unattainable. He failed his first 2 attempts, falling far short of the record, but instead of giving up, he used each failure as a learning experience, refining his strategy and pushing himself harder. By his 3rd attempt, he had developed the mental toughness and physical endurance to succeed. The lesson here is clear. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a necessary part of the journey. You must be willing to fail, learn, and keep going to achieve an impossible goal. Breaking the goal into steps. While impossible goals may seem overwhelming, Goggins emphasizes the importance of breaking them down into smaller, manageable steps. This approach makes the goal feel less daunting and allows you to focus on immediate actions rather than the enormity of the task. For example, when Goggins decided to lose over 100 pounds to qualify for Navy SEAL training, he didn't focus on the total weight he needed. Instead, he created a daily plan that included specific workouts, dietary changes, and milestones. By focusing on what he could accomplish each day, he gradually built the momentum needed to achieve his large. He encourages readers to apply this principle in their own lives. Start by identifying the big goal you want to achieve, then break it into smaller tasks. Focus on completing each task excellently, knowing that every step brings you closer to your goal. Building resilience. Through challenges. Pursuing impossible goals inevitably involves setbacks and hardships. Goggins explains that these challenges are not obstacles, but opportunities to build resilience and mental toughness. By overcoming a difficulty, you prove you're capable of more than you thought. He shares a story from his ultramarathons, where extreme weather conditions and physical exhaustion pushed him to the brink. At one point, he considered quitting, but reminded himself of his commitment to the goal. By focusing on his why and breaking the race into smaller segments, he was able to push through the pain and finish the race. The experience strengthened his body and reinforced his belief in his endurance. The importance of a strong why. Goggins emphasizes that the key to achieving impossible goals is having a strong why. This deeper purpose or motivation drives you to keep going. Even when the journey becomes difficult without a compelling why, it's easy to lose focus or give up when faced with challenges. For Goggins, his why often came from a desire to prove that he could overcome his limitations. Whether completing SEAL training, breaking the pull-up world record, or finishing an ultramarathon, his goals were deeply personal and rooted in his commitment to self-improvement. To find your own why, Goggins advises reflecting on what truly matters to you. What are you passionate about? What do you want to prove to yourself or others? By connecting your goal to a meaningful purpose, you create a source of motivation that sustains you through even the toughest challenges. Actionable steps to set impossible goals. 1. Dream big. Choose a goal that excites and inspires you, even if it feels unattainable. 2. Break it down. Divide the goal into smaller, manageable steps and focus on completing each with excellence. 3. Embrace failure. View setbacks as opportunities to learn and grow rather than reasons to quit. 4. Find you. Why? Identify the deeper purpose behind your goal and use it as a source of motivation. 5. Commit. Fully dedicate yourself to the goal, knowing the journey will be challenging but rewarding. The takeaway: growth through greatness. Goggins clarifies that setting impossible goals isn't about achieving perfection. It's about striving for greatness and discovering one's full potential. Pursuing these goals transforms one, building resilience, discipline, and self-respect. Even if one falls short, the journey itself is a victory. Life is entirely challenging, but as David Goggins shows us in Can't Hurt Me, real growth happens when we push through discomfort and test the limits of our potential. What's your next big challenge? What impossible goal will you set for yourself? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If you found inspiration in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll stay updated with more transformative lessons from influential books like this one. Let's build a community of resilience and growth together. Hit the bell icon never to miss a video. Your next breakthrough could be just a click away.